Hello again, I'm Don McGowan. With the official opening of Expo-67, it's a time when all Canadians can really feel proud, especially native-born Montrealers. Those of us who can recall those halcyon days of our youth, romping across St. Helens Island or Ile St. Helene on a Saturday afternoon picnic. And years later, the focal point of the world for at least the next 6 months, Man and His World, Expo-67. Who would have thought years ago? And who said it could never be done? TV-12 will keep you posted every day during the next 6 months on happenings at Expo-67 in form of programs reviewing events at Expo-67. Especially, though, we'll keep you posted on what's coming up that particular day. One of the programs is Your Guide to Expo. It'll be seen at Sign On every day on TV-12 and Sign Off right after Pajama Playhouse. And here is Ron Hill to tell us more about Your Guide to Expo.
Your Guide to Expo is a 15-minute program to be seen every evening and every morning throughout Expo. It'll explain the highlights of the coming day and suggest special items and events that you might like to see. It'll be seen at the conclusion of Pajama Playhouse Monday to Saturday and at midnight on Sundays. It will then be repeated later in the morning at 8:15 Monday to Friday and at 9:15 on Saturdays and Sundays. You'll thus be able to watch TV-12, Your Guide to Expo, before you leave for Expo to see what special events you can see each day.
We will also continue with our 1-minute inserts throughout the day, also called Your Guide to Expo, and they will fill in details of special events that day and also in the evening at Expo. And they will tell of interesting happenings at Expo the following day. Let's look at one of those right now.
TV-12, Your Guide to Expo, keeps you up to date on daily events at Expo. Tomorrow morning, the Indian of Canada Pavilion on Ile Notre Dame will receive a visit from a group of Indians from the Queen Charlotte Islands in British Columbia. They will present demonstrations of their dances and show displays of soapstone carving. Through their exhibit on Ile Notre Dame, the Indians of Canada speak to fellow Canadians against the background of man and his world. They tell of the problems they face by involvement in the modern world. But, as you see here, they also desire to preserve their traditions and the spiritual values of their forefathers. So be sure to visit the Indians of Canada Pavilion tomorrow to meet some of the first citizens of Canada. For information on further special events at Expo tomorrow, stay tuned to TV-12, Your Guide to Expo.
Another program here on TV-12 that you will enjoy watching is Expo Review, giving a complete resume of all the important events at Expo during the past week. It is seen Sundays, and the time is 5 o'clock.
Expo Review, a summary of the important events at Expo-67 this week. For the week's highlights at Expo-67, watch Expo Review every Sunday at 5 p.m. on TV-12.
The man who helped start all this, our own mayor, Jean Drapeau, has a program on TV-12 called This is Expo. For the past 6 or 8 weeks, it was seen on Sundays. It has now moved to a better time, I think, Mondays at 10:30. Mayor Jean Drapeau, This is Expo, Mondays at 10:30.
My name is Meg Fraser from Sydney, Australia. I am one of the hostesses at the Australian Pavilion during Canada's World Exhibition, Expo-67. This year's spectacular is the most exciting exhibition ever presented, as the thousands of visitors who have visited the Expo site can attest. We are proud to be a part of this great event. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m., His Worship the Mayor of Montreal, Monsieur Jean Drapeau, introduces another guest on This is Expo. I hope you will be with us for this interesting program.
I think one of the best ways to keep on top of the news is watching Pulse, especially news from Expo 67. Pulse at 6:30 on TV 12 with Dean Kay, and also with Dean Kay at 11:18. Keeping you up to date on what happened that particular afternoon and evening at Expo 67. Here's Jack Kern to tell us more about Pulse coverage of Expo.
Channel 12 News will be at Expo in a big way. Teams of news reporters and cameramen will rove the packed site of the World Exposition, reporting on special events, national days, personalities, and the various pavilions and exhibits. Through Pulse newscasts, you'll meet the people who helped create Expo 67, the heads of state who will visit the fair, and some of the interesting people who will be among the millions of visitors to Expo. In addition, Channel 12 Public Affairs will talk to and report on some of the distinguished men of science and letters who will appear at Expo. Almost every member of Channel 12's newsroom, one of the largest in Canada, will take direct part in reporting Expo 67 on TV 12.
A man and his magic wand, or perhaps a man and his crystal ball, are represented by TV 12's own Magic Tom Auburn. His show is seen Monday through Fridays at 9:30. Magic Tom will be spending some time this summer and fall at Expo. Here's Tom to tell us more about that.
You know, so many things will be happening at Expo 67. I know you're going to have a lot of fun. For instance, the Children's World on La Ronde. Many of you will have a chance to go for a little ride in a tub and watch the old 99, and of course the Magic Box, a puppet show. We'll be talking to some of the puppets, and on occasion Magic Tom will be visiting Expo. And of course there's also the Little Prince Park on St. Helens Island. Oh, don't miss that, where the city of Vienna have set up a typical European kindergarten. So don't forget now, if by chance you may be sick at home or you just cannot get over to Expo 67, you watch the programming of TV 12, because we will bring Expo 67 right into your front living rooms. And we will have a lot of fun. I'm telling you.
I'm going to, you know, Magic Tom. Oh, we're going to have a lot of fun, aren't we?
Oh, you bet we're going to have a lot of Expo 67 fun out there. So don't forget now, if you cannot come out to see us, then you watch the TV 12 programming, because we're going to bring everything from Expo right into your living room. Okay? See you soon. Bye-bye.
Like Young is the program for young people, or for those of you who are on Geritol. It's a very fine program. It is seen Saturdays at 6 o'clock with Jim McKenna and Diane Dickinson. Like Young will also be at Expo. Here's Jim to tell us more.
You know, I was just thinking, we've had an awful lot of fun here on Like Young during the summertime when we go out on location. I can think of going up to St. Agathe and water skiing and practically breaking my neck, and going out to St. Laurent too, going up in an airplane and barbecuing over in St. Lambert. And this summer, of course, we've got the most marvelous location spot in all the world when Expo 67 comes right here to Montreal. And this summer, we'll be there with our color cameras trying to capture some of the excitement as all the world puts on a big show for you, and for all the teenagers, too. And we hope that this summer you'll drop over to Expo 67 when Like Young is on location. Bring some of your guests from out of town, too, and you'll have a chance to meet teens from all around the world. And, of course, we have prizes, and we have dancing, and we have a lot of the big-name stars from the United States and from Canada. Of course, our location spots are all over the Expo site, so be listening and watching to TV 12 for dates and locations. So we'll see you this summer for the best and biggest location in the world. That's Expo 67 when Like Young goes on location. See you then.
If you're a sports fan, you'll see a great many sporting activities right here on TV 12 on our Expo sports programs. Here's our sports director, Dick Irvin, to tell you more about sports at Expo here on TV 12.
This is Dick Irvin with a word about the sports events to take place at Expo 67, events you'll see here on TV 12 via the CTV Wide World of Sport program and on our own Pulse Sports presentation. They're not wasting any time at all. The first sporting event takes place the very first weekend of Expo this coming Saturday and Sunday, when 8 nations will compete in a unique international ping pong tournament. Many of the competitors have just arrived in Montreal from the recently held World Ping Pong Championships at Stockholm, Sweden. And you'll see the highlights of that competition here on TV 12 on the CTV Wide World of Sport program 1 week from Saturday, 4:30 on May the 6th. Of course, much of the sporting activity at Expo will take place at the famed Autostad, Expo Stadium. And perhaps the biggest of all the events to be held there will be the Association Soccer Football Tournament. 6 world-famed soccer countries will be represented in this one, featuring many top international stars, the best names in the game. And 2 of the countries to take part will be England and West Germany, the 2 teams which reached the finals last year in the World Cup competition overseas. Also at Expo Stadium, the North American All-Indian Lacrosse Championship. Canada and the United States will each be sending a team to compete in this unique event, and it too will be covered on the CTV Wide World of Sport, as of course will the soccer tournament, and an international track and field meet, which follows hard on the heel of the lacrosse tournament, the international track and field meet to take place at Expo Stadium, August 9th and the 10th. Many of the athletes to compete in this one will come to Montreal direct from the Pan American Games in Winnipeg. There will also be many top European stars in action, and with the Olympics coming up in 1968, many experts are saying that the track meet at Expo will be an Olympic track and field preview. And you'll see the highlights right here on TV 12. Also, in a sporting vein at Expo, the finish of the Centennial Voyageur Canoe Pageant. They're starting off at the Alberta-British Columbia border. They're following the canoe trails from the fur days of days gone by, and they'll finish, they believe, on September the 4th when they'll shoot the Lachine Rapids and end up at the Canadian Pavilion on Ile Notre Dame. On May the 10th, the Trans-Canada 4,000-mile car rally will end at the Expo site, and toss all this in with many swimming meets, yachting meets, the Canadian Open Golf Tournament taking place here in Montreal, and you can see that sports and sports fans will not be forgotten. Plenty of action at Expo 67.
The program W5, a great hit this past television season on TV 12, will present special programs on Expo 67 and Man and His World Sunday nights at 10 o'clock. Here's Ted to tell us more about W5 at Expo.
Beginning this Sunday, W5 will be at Expo 67. Now, our crews have been filming there for several weeks, and these films, along with pre-taped and live segments, will show the joie de vivre as well as the political implications of Expo. There's no doubt about it, Expo is fun. But will it really change our thinking about ourselves? It's exciting, but will we be able to shed our inferiority complex? It's international, but will it change other countries' thinking about us? Is Expo a bust or a must? Now, we think we'll have a bit of fun trying to answer those questions, and of course, along the way, we'll take a long look at the great cast of thousands who will appear here. You, the visitors to the biggest show in the world. See it all on W5 every Sunday at 10 p.m. on TV 12.
We'll be at the fair, too. That is Canadian Marconi Company, CFCF Radio, and CFCF Television at the Pavilion of Economic Progress, right next door to the Cuban Pavilion. So see us at the Pavilion of Economic Progress, Marconi, CFCF Radio, and CFCF Television. And this concludes our presentation. We could call it A Man and His Preview, giving you a glimpse of some of the programs you'll see here on TV 12 concerning Expo and Expo information. Add to that list, the list you've just seen, our Expo specials throughout the summer and fall during the next 6 months. And also, each day, a special interview program giving you a chance to meet many of the interesting people visiting our city during Expo. Just one note I'd like to add. I spent a few days at the fair prior to the official opening, and the great dilemma at first is, well, where do you start first? We started with the transportation systems. We took the metro, our own Montreal Metro, to the Ile Saint-Hélène station near the American Pavilion, then took the mini rail throughout Ile Notre Dame here, back over Cosmos Walk, and took the mini rail throughout Ile Saint-Hélène, and then went over to La Ronde on the express, the fast express, starting at Harbor City, cutting the islands, ending at La Ronde. That's the best way to get the sweep of Expo when you first arrive there. We'll see you at Expo here on TV 12, also at the World's Fair site. Thank you.